Tommy Daniels back here on the Allen Americans podcast and joined by a longtime friend and the host of Frito Nation Productions. We talk about it all the time, folks. If you're listening to us right now and you have a small business, maybe a realtor, construction company, and you'd like to get out there and promote your business via, a podcast, Mark Friedman will be the guy you want to contact. It's mark@fritonations.com. And Mark is joining us here now. Nice map in the background there, buddy. Where are you?
You like that? I'm somewhere in the world, Tommy. Now I'm at the Jaeger office suites here in Allen. This is where I office out of. A lot of times you'll do the Allen Americans podcast from my home studio.
Absolutely.
Today, we're at the office. Jaeger office suites. It's a great place.
Well, first of all, great to have you here. And those of you that know Mark and definitely know his name, Mark was the longtime producer of the Norm Hitzke show. How many years were you working head-to-head and nose-to-nose with Norm?
Norm and I went for like 11 or 12 years. I started producing Norm at KLIF, so back before 2000, and then we went to the ticket.
Wow. And before you, who was his producer?
Fraser Maxwell.
Okay, that's right. I knew Dan Bennett was at one point, way back in the...
Actually, Tommy was his board operator at one point.
That's
Fraser
amazing.
was his producer. Fraser and I are still friends to this day, so...
Well, great to have you on, and we talk about you. We mention your name all the time. A lot of fans know you, and of course, you had your own show over at ESPN too. Before you ventured off into the big world, and now doing your own thing, which is great. Your radio career. I know it's tough business, and people talk about that today. A lot of people getting out of the business. People that I knew that worked in the radio business for 30 years. I saw the handwriting on the wall, and that's the reason why I left back in 2009 to take the job at the Americans. I knew that there was going to be an opportunity someday for a play-by-play job, and when it came along, I wasn't going to walk away from it. It was tough to leave radio because there's a lot of great things, a lot of cool things you get to be a part of, but you knew as well that, the opportunity was now. Talk about and tell everybody full details what you're doing away from radio.
Well, radio is awesome. I loved every minute that I was in radio, but being in management radio also, I was also very well aware of the competition, the future competition. So I kept an eye on podcasts for a while. And then once it got time for me to be out of radio, I decided, I'm just going to take my show and make it a podcast. Had a 6-month non-compete with the radio station, left on what I thought were very good terms. I didn't want to mess with that at all, even though I don't think they would have messed around with it. But anyway, so I joined the Allen Fairview Chamber of Commerce. And at the first meeting that I went to, I realized a lot of these small business owners probably paid a lot of money to have their websites designed, but really don't have any fresh content to put on those websites. And a podcast is perfect for something like that. So I started helping other people put podcasts on their websites, and my business kind of changed a little bit. Yeah,
your business is really taken off. I'm just shocked. Because as I asked you, I said, man, that's got to be scary when you step away from a guaranteed paycheck every week. But when you're starting your own business, you're an entrepreneur and you want to get started and be your own boss. And you've done it. You did it the right way and building it through the chamber where now you're an ambassador over there and you've got a lot of friends.
Wait, Tommy, I'm on the board of the chamber now.
You're on the board. Okay. So what you're telling me is you're even bigger than what I made you out to be here.
That's right.
Okay. No, fair enough.
It's great. I really wanted to get involved in the community, and that's why I joined the chamber, and it's just actually branched off into all sorts of other things for me.
So for somebody, and a lot of people, everybody wants to be their own boss. I've said that for years. Oh man, how great would it be to have your own company, your own broadcast company. And I did it for a while on the side. I was, back when I was working in radio, mostly music radio, I had my own DJ service and I was busy matter of fact, I had to turn down a lot of gigs because especially working at the Edge, which was a real popular station with the kids and with colleges, you could be booked all the time. And I walked away from that because I said, look, all right, man, at the time, I'm like, all right, I just turned 40. I don't need to be doing this anymore. I'm going to give this up. Still have all my stuff, but I just have no desire to do that anymore, even though, a lot of the events were fun. But yours is more challenging because, you've got to find these businesses out there. You got to convince them that they need a podcast and it can help them. Now, you've helped us out a lot. I'm telling you right now, folks, Mark Friedman has been very good to the Allen Americans, and All these podcasts we've done now for the last a year and a half, Mark has produced and put them up on the site for us, and he's doing this all because he's a big guy in the community and he likes to be a part of things. So if people want to get a hold of you, or even just curious, maybe they want to talk to you and come out and see your studios, how can they get a hold of you?
The best way is email mark@fredonation.com, and you can see Fredo Nation up in the upper left-hand corner of your screen right now. See how to spell it.
There you go.
You can give me a call. My mobile number, which I give out on the air on the radio all the time, 214-250-1321, 214-250-1321. Feel free to call me and leave a message, and I'll get back to you.
I had a program director one time when I was working in music radio. I won't mention which station or the guy's name, but he got mad at me because I was music director at the time, and he wanted me to put a song in, and I said, hey, look, if you want me to be the music director for this station, I have to have the final call, and I didn't add it. He got mad at me. He was the morning guy, and he gave out my home phone number on the air. He said, no, Tommy said he wanted the wake-up call this morning. It'd be nice if you would call him and wake him up. My phone rang nonstop for 2 hours until finally I just pulled the plug out of the wall back in the day when you had home phones. But yeah, so mark@fredonation.com. I want to talk a little sports with you too, because you've covered so many great events. How many Super Bowl events have you been a part of, Mark?
I went to 15.
Oh my gosh.
15, and no, wait, those are the week of, and I only went to like 3 or 4 actual games. And I got to tell you that if you're a sports fan and you can find your way to go to one Super Bowl, find a way to do that.
It's awesome.
I mean, it's just, more than one, maybe if your team's in it or something like that, but you should experience it at least once.
I have a great story, and I have one witness, because I can't find the picture now, but I have one witness who will verify my story. But I covered the Cowboys and Steelers Super Bowl in Arizona back in 1996. I was young, fresh in the radio business. And, if you remember that stadium in Arizona, one of the bad parts about that stadium, Mark, is they didn't have a big press box. And when you're holding a Super Bowl there, what they do is they give because the writers, they always get everything handed to them, right? So all the TV and radio media, they set up underneath the stadium, like this workstation. And I thought, I'll be damned if I'm going to come all the way here to Arizona and watch this game on a TV set under the stadium. So a buddy of mine who worked for WBAP, Ted Sorrells,
Awesome.
He is a great person. I told him, I said, Ted, we are going over very early. And I said, even though our press pass says, auxiliary, which was under the stadium, I said, we're going to walk in this stadium like we own the place, which we did.
By the way, this was before 9/11, so you could actually do that.
Yes, you could. But my story, I was actually able to sneak in with my pass. I just flashed it quickly, and the guy just let me in. And I said, okay, now here's the bad part. I got to walk around for 3 hours and figure out something to do before the actual game starts. And I knew I didn't have a seat. So I thought, okay, that's fine. I'll stand. So I walked to the 45-yard line, and that's where I stood once it got time for pregame ceremonies and what have you. And there was a group of guys on the very last row, probably right about the 45. And, it got through the end of the first quarter, and nobody was there with them. And I said to the one guy, I said, hey, if nobody shows up here after halftime, I said, do you mind if I sit here? The guy goes, absolutely. He said, we have the other 3 seats, but those people didn't come, so those are open. You can sit there. So I sat there, and I started talking to these guys, and I thought, man, I got to make myself at least look like, I'm somebody here, because they're probably wondering, why does this guy have a press pass? He doesn't have a seat. So told them I work for a radio station in Dallas, and I said, hey, by the way, I said, I host a radio show with Emmett Smith on a weekly basis. And they were all like, oh, that's really cool. Emmett, a good guy or whatever. Okay. So little do I know, well, Chris Arnold, a former colleague of ours, comes walking up at halftime, and he sees me sitting there with this group of guys, and he pulls me aside and says, Tommy, how did you score these seats? And I said, well, Chris, I said, to be honest, I didn't have a seat. I wasn't about to sit underneath the stadium. I said, I wanted to, have a good seat. And I said, these gentlemen here were kind enough to let me sit with them. He goes, Tommy, do you know who you're sitting with? And I said, I have no idea. He said, that is George Clooney, the actor. And I'd been
No.
talking to this. I swear to God, you ask Chris Arnold the next time you see him, he's my only witness. I had no idea who the guy was and I just knew his name was George, and there was a couple other people, and they were all decked out in black. And, and then I found out, and I felt like the biggest idiot on the face of the earth. I'm sitting thinking, this guy.
You knew who George Clooney was once.
I knew the name, but I didn't watch. What was the big show he was popular in back in the day?
He was on Facts of Life. He's been in several movies.
No, it was his show. ER. Yes, thank you. I didn't watch that, so I didn't know who he was by face. I knew the name, and boy, did I feel. So I thought, okay, the only way I can prove this is if I get a photo. So at the very end, I said, hey, and I asked the people sitting in front, will you get a photo of all of us together? So I got a photo of me and Clooney. So I went back. Was
your photo like on a regular camera?
It was. So I go back to the morning show, and I was on the Morning Edge on Monday morning after the Super Bowl. And I tell the morning show, Alex and Mary Ellen were the two people I worked with. And I tell them, I say, hey, guess who I met at the Super Bowl? And, and I told them the story. And I said, yeah, it was George Clooney. Oh, come on, man, you're full of it. And, of course, back then, you don't get pictures right away. You have to take them to your local Walgreens or whatever. So a week later, I walk back into the morning show, and we're doing our 5:30 a.m. Hey, what'd you do over the weekend? And I slammed that picture down on the table. I said, there. Take that. That's George Clooney, my new best friend. And you know what? It's my story. It's my only from the one Super Bowl that I covered and the other one I went to as a fan. That was my big event. That was my, getting to meet George Clooney, even though for a half, Frito, I had no idea who he was.
You sat there and you were big timing him, telling him about you doing a show with Emmett Smith.
Yeah, I'm trying to big time and telling him, and then not even realizing who this was. It wasn't Dr. Dreamy, whatever they called him back in the day. But yeah, that's my story. Actually sat next to and chatted with George Clooney doing a Super Bowl. I know you've met some big time people over the years.
My favorite moment as far as big time people, and I've probably met people who other people think were bigger than this guy.
Yeah.
But I had the opportunity when the Cowboys played the Carolina Panthers in the playoffs. I chose not to go on the road for that game because I got an invitation to watch that game with Roger Staubach,
wow,
and his wife, and another couple. And so there was 6 of us watching that game. And, I grew up watching Roger, obviously. A lot of people in the Metroplex did. And he was just like a hero. And so I got to watch a football game alone with him, and it was just absolutely amazing. It was a great experience. He's a great guy, and I don't need to tell you that. But he was watching a football game with Roger Staubach is probably one of the greatest moments as far as brush with fame that I'll ever have.
How did the invite come about?
So I had an intern that I'm sure a lot of people will recognize named Grooves.
Yes.
And when Grooves was 16 years old, one of the sales guys at the ticket asked me, hey, could you use an intern? And I did not like having interns at all because I was in management and I had to produce the show, and having an intern just meant I had to, quote unquote, babysit someone, which sounds really bad of me. But that's just what I felt. But I agreed to do it, and I'm so glad I did because Grooves is an awesome, awesome person. But so Grooves played baseball at Jesuit, and Jeff Staubach.
Okay.
So Jeff was one of his coaches that helped him out, and so the Grooves family knew the Staubach family very well, and so we got the invite from Mike's parents. So
that is awesome. What a great story. All right, so the Michael Jordan special is going on right now. Everybody's watching it. The Last Dance. You were covering the Mavs, and you were around back in the day. Did you ever get a chance to interview or talk to Jordan?
I had a chance to stand there when everyone else was interviewing because, Tommy, I didn't ask too many questions in the locker room.
Yeah, you just held that mic out like this. There's Frito.
I just
all business.
Tape and figured, if there's a question that I was going to ask that no one else asked, then they really weren't doing their job right. So there's, and so I got to meet a couple of locker rooms with Michael. But my one Michael story was in 90, had to be 98, I guess. I was producing a show called The Sports Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Lynn and Leon Simon on KLF radio. The Bulls were coming to town, And one of the listeners, who was a regular caller into the show, asked me for advice on how to sneak into the game. And so I helped him sneak into the game. Once again, like you're telling your story about the Super Bowl, this is before 9/11. You couldn't do this now.
Yeah.
But I gave him a microphone and an XLR cable. Now, an XLR cable is the cable you use to connect the microphone to your recording device.
Right.
I did not give him a recording device. He just took the other end of that cable and put it in his pocket.
Oh my gosh, that's unbelievable.
He snuck into Reunion Arena with the microphone, and he actually got into the post-game news conferences. But so that was my way of helping a listener, just giving him a microphone and a cable and telling him, if you get caught, you don't know who I am.
Wow.
But the statute limitations will run out on that, so it's okay.
That is greatness. One time I had a chance, and this was not during Chicago days, when the end of his career, when he was with Washington. And again, Chris Arnold is in this story. And so there were 4 or 5 of us standing in the locker room afterwards. Michael Jordan was the last person in there. And he was in a good mood that night, and he was wanting to chat. And he knew Chris pretty well because they were talking back and forth. But I thought, I'm not leaving. I'm hanging out here. So I did. And I chatted, with the guys that were there. And Michael, I can't remember even what the conversation was about. Here's the neat part about this story. So after Jordan leaves, and I'm getting all my stuff together, and it was all in that room. And I look in Jordan's locker, and there's a piece of chewing gum still in his stall. He's gone. I thought,
you did not do that.
I thought, do I take this piece of chewing gum that a janitor is going to throw in the garbage later on tonight when somebody comes in and cleans this locker room? You know what, Frito? I took it. I took the piece of gum, and I thought, how cool is this? I can say, even though it was nothing, he didn't chew it. I mean, it was still in the wrapper and everything. It was a piece of Wrigley's spearmint gum.
It wasn't okay.
Yeah. What did you think? I would take a piece of gum that would already been chewed up?
Now that'd be a better story.
Now you're probably right. It would be. This was just a lonely piece of gum that was left in the locker after he had left and everybody from the Bulls was gone. And I was still, checking my tape to make sure everything was good. And I was listening through on a headset to make sure which I always did. And so I was the last one to leave, and I saw that gum in there. Was I wrong for taking that piece of gum?
No, not at all.
No, I still have that piece of gum to this day. It is in a box of what I call my Tommy valuables. And, it's a few autograph things that I've had over the years. My brother, he's quite a bit older than me, but when I was little, he met OJ. Really he met OJ. Yeah, exactly. He met OJ at a grocery store, and he got an autograph, and he gave it to me. I still have that autograph from O.J. Simpson, and I don't have many autographs, over the years.
You have that one in your knife drawer?
What's that?
You had that autograph in your knife drawer?
No, I do not. I don't have a knife drawer, sir. But yeah, so that's just kind of, we kind of got off on a tangent there when we started talking about Jordan.
Well, the thing I like about that Jordan documentary, I like the footage, the behind the scenes footage, like him playing quarters, pitching quarters with the security people and just seeing that side of him, because, and I know both of us have these stories. If you've been in locker rooms enough and you've got to know some of the superstars, and you get to see them on a personal level, it's pretty cool. And I think that documentary showed, and now of course Jordan has something to do with the production of that documentary, the series, and it shows him in a pretty good light, the way he interacted with people that were way, way, way beneath him. In the video and the documentary seems really good.
Well, the one thing that I was shocked about, Mark, is I was blown away of how competitive this guy is, not just at basketball, at everything. I mean, this guy wanted to bet you on everything. And that, to me, is one thing that's really blown me away. But you know what? Hey,
the story that Paxton told, I think it was episode 7 last night as we're recording this, about the poker games that were going on and the card games that were going on in the plane, and Michael and Ron Harper and the guys would be in the back, and they'd be playing for thousands of dollars a hand, and Paxton and the other guys are in the front playing for like $1 a hand, and Jordan wanted to go play with them, and he's like, there's a Will Purdue or Paxton said, why do you want to play with us? We're only playing for like $1 a hand. And Jordan says, because I want to say that I got your money in my pocket.
Amazing. All right, here's one for you.
Okay.
You got a chance to have dinner with one of these three. Which one are you choosing? Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, or Tom Brady? Which one are you going to have dinner with?
Whoa, it's either Brady or Jordan. And I think I go Jordan.
There you go.
I think I would go Jordan. How about you?
Definitely Tiger Woods.
Really? Why?
Definitely Tiger Woods. I mean, I love Jordan too, because I grew up in that era and watched Jordan play. So definitely loved watching him. And Brady has been amazing. And most people hate him unless you lived in Boston. Now everybody in Boston hates him, and they love him in Tampa. But there's something special about him, even though he killed my Bills for 20 years. And it was tough to watch at times, and it wasn't 20, it was close. But Tiger Woods to me is the most interesting athlete, because I know Jordan was really good but there were some other good players that played the game when he was playing. It wasn't,
Yeah.
I mean, Magic was in that era, Bird played in that era. But if you look at one time, Tiger Woods, nobody came close to him and dominating like he did, obviously not anymore. But at one time, he just dominated golf. And to me, it would be interesting to sit down for a 1 hour conversation with him. If somebody's talking to us here, it'd be interesting to sit down.
Wait, is someone just walking into my office?
No, somebody was chatting with me. It sounded like Alexa asking a question. I wasn't sure where that was coming from, but that's beside the point. But yeah, Tiger Woods would be my guy.
Okay. And my only concern about Tiger and your dinner is that he'd be too guarded. Is your Alexa named Tiger?
I don't have an Alexa going, so I'm not sure exactly what we're hearing there, but it's a little comical. Do you have like a hidden Alexa in here somewhere?
I might. I don't know. Just to pull the curtain back, Tommy's actually in my office right now.
Yeah.
I'm in a conference room in the office building.
He is, despite the fact that you blew everything, Frito, because people think I'm in the locker room right now.
Oh, that's a good point. That's where my office is.
Exactly. All right. The one and only Mark Friedman of Frito Nation Productions. I've known him for a long time. He's been a great friend, one of the best out there when it comes to producing and putting things together. A very smart man, and he can help you out. If you're wanting to put a podcast together, help out your business, contact Mark today, mark@fritonation.com, and get your podcast started. Mark, thanks for doing this, and thanks you for all you do for the Allen Americans.
Thank you.